Hello and welcome to the tutorial for the reading tracker that I've been working on. I started this about a year ago and it is finally at a place where I can say that it's finished. I was weighing up about how long I wanted to make this video. My videos for my beta testers were very, very long, and I was going to try and avoid doing anything like that again, but I don't want to risk leaving anything out because this is pretty complicated. So I think I'll just go through everything, and feel free to skip ahead if you are getting the gist of it, or put it on 2x speed. I'll put chapters in the scrubber bar so you can skip to wherever you need to go. If you already know Notion, then this should be pretty familiar to you already, and it should be pretty quick to pick up on. If you're completely new to Notion, then hopefully this will help you. So the reading tracker is like a two-part thing. The main body of the tracker is hosted by a service called Notion, which is essentially like a database system where you can make these tables and track information. People like to use it for to-do lists and productivity kind of trackers and stuff like that. The second part of the reading tracker is the companion plugin that I've made for Google Chrome. And this is essentially the piece that will import everything into the tracker. So originally it was going to be that you would enter everything manually, which is still fine and definitely can work like that without the plugin if you don't use Chrome or you don't want to download it. But with the plugin, it automates pretty much all of it, with very little that you have to do manually unless you choose to do so. So we'll start off just by showing you my reading tracker. So this has already got a lot of data in there, so you'll see how everything communicates with each other to make this full thing. There are several pages which you can see on the left here, which I will go through probably in separate videos, but today I'll try and get through library, author, and fandoms, which is the main part that our readers will be using. And then there's a page for authors, which is the desk to track your writing, and then the bindery for the book binders, and then mobile view, which is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so here we have the main database on our page. This is what holds all of the fanfics that we're importing. So everything goes into this database first, and then all these other databases are essentially pulling information from this one to show you this different info, these different views. So these tabs are automated by the status property, which is this here. You can manually change that, and whenever you change it, it'll automatically filter it through into the relevant tab. So you've got your currently reading. That includes things that you're also waiting to be updated. So I've read all 5 chapters that have been published, but the fic hasn't been finished, so it's sitting in my currently reading still, so I know I can go back to it. The progress bar will also fill as you read each chapter. Your read ones, self-explanatory. You can leave star reviews. The time is how long it takes to read that fic. That's based on the word count and your reading speed, which you'll have entered in the extension setup page. You can log a started date if you want to. If you do choose to do that, then you'll have a span generated, so it determines how long it took you to read based on your started date and your read date. You can mark a fic as your favorite, and then there's a little link. So there's actually a lot more properties that exist for these fics. You'll see that when you open it up. You've got all these here. But what this is doing is it's just showing you the main ones. And you can hide any of these by right-clicking and clicking hide. And you can show more if you click the dots. And then you pick, and you use the little eye toggle to choose which ones you want to show. So customize it to however you want to use it. Up next is essentially like your TBR, but ones that are you want to read sooner. So you can sort of separate it from like the bulk of everything else you have sitting in your TBR list. The one-shots, that is basically anything under, I think maybe under like 13,000 words. I tried to keep it like basically like an hour or less reads. So if you're like running short on time, or you just want to like fill in like 30 minutes or so, you can come here and like pick something from that list. That is only like your TBR list though, so anything you've already read, it won't come up in here. Your favorites, that is anything that you've marked as a favorite. And DNF, that is based on this this status property. You can change things to DNF. And then the all tab, that's really good if you want to search for a particular fic. So let's say I want to look for Manacled. I've already read Manacled, so if I go into my TBR and I click the search bar and type Manacled, it won't come up, but it does exist in my database, but it's living in the red tab. So to search anything, it's better to just go to the all tab because there's no filters in place, and then it'll do a search through your entire database. So that's how like the database views work. I will go through now and show you all the properties. So to open it up, you're just hovering over and you're clicking the open tab. At the top, you've got the title. You have your stars and spice. That is manually selected by you, or there is a modal that comes up in the plugin. If you mark a fic as finished, it'll bring up like a little window where you can give it a star rating and a review. You have these tabs here which will filter through different information. So if your fic is part of a series, it shows the series information there. It'll give you some details about the author, what fandoms they write for, how many of their fics you have, what pairings they write for. This is like an essay. I don't know why I'm using an essay as an example. I'll do this one. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so we'll go back to the main page. Your status is here, which we've already seen. The author, this is a special relation property. So that means this is actually looking at a different database. This is our author's database. So I can click on that name and it takes me to that author's page where they live in my author database. I'm just going to click back on the browser window though and go back to where we were. The fandom, that's the same thing. If I click on that, it takes me to the supernatural page in my fandoms database. You can see the databases because they've got their little icon and the underline. The rating is just a select property, same with category and the pairing. You can enter new ones manually. This is automatically done via the database, but you can add things like that, and you would just click that to create it and then click off and it appears like that. And you can remove things by just clicking the X. These are really hard to manage as well. It's very easy to build up like a huge list of multi-select options, and there's no real easy quick way to delete them. So I really recommend trying to keep on top of keeping it organized and just like removing things that you don't want as you go, so you don't have to deal with managing it later. Language, self-explanatory. The published date, the last updated date, you can click on these properties and like select your date there. Word count, your chapters published. This is always entered in the same format that you see it on AO3, so 5 out of 5 or 5 out of question mark. And this published status here will automatically update based on what is here. So this is marked as an incomplete fic, and it tells you how long it's been. That's based on your last updated date there. That will flag it as complete, or that will flag it again as an incomplete fic. Your time, that's how long it takes to read, which we already had looked at. That's based on your reading speed on the extension setup page and the word count. Kudos, bookmarks, they're just fields. You can click on it and enter like whatever you want there. The URL, the kudos and comments left, you can just tick those boxes to track how you've engaged with the fic. It's sort of there as a reminder to make sure you give the author your appreciation. Other than that, it doesn't really do anything. It's just to track it on your end if it's something you care about, which I think everyone should. The series here, this is another relation database. So when we click on that, it's asking us to link it to an existing page in our series database, or you can enter a new one. Otherwise, this is all manually done. So if you've imported this fic from AO3 with the plugin, it will automatically enter a series and the series number if there is one. Traditionally published, this links directly into this database here. So again, that's a relation property, and this creates an entry into our published fics area. So if you were to enter, I will show you this later, but if you were to enter a title into that property, it creates a new page here, and then you can go here and fill out that book there. And if you hover over them, I've tried to write an explanation for everything so you can see like which ones are auto-populated and how to use that property essentially. The abandoned property here is a checkbox. If you know that a fic is not going to be updated again for whatever reason, and it's not something that you want to track or keep on your radar, you can just tick that. So an example of how you might use that, there's a database down here hidden in this little toggle, and this shows all the fics that you have read, but like all the available chapters of, but that are incomplete over 1 year. So it's sort of just a way to keep track of things that you might want to check back on just in case. But if you don't want a fic to show up there, ticking that abandoned box will remove it from this tracker. And then the last property here is recommended by, and you can just type in someone's name. So I like to do this because I get recommended a lot of fics, and when I read them, I want to go back to that person and let them know what I thought about it. So at the bottom of this list, you'll see that there's a toggle for 14 more properties. These are ones that I have intentionally hidden and that you can very safely ignore. There's not really any reason you'd need to look at these, but just to show you. So these are pretty much hiding properties that are serving like functions in the background. They're just like formulas and stuff, like code and things that are needed for other formulas. So very important, like don't ever delete anything. Just even deleting one thing could completely break the plugin or like another property somewhere. If you don't want to see anything, you can just hide a property. So let's say I want to hide the recommended by. You right click, you go to customize layout. It's a little bit tedious. You have to click on the property group that you're editing. So in this case, it's this one here. And then you find the property and you can just toggle it with that eye here. But yeah, never delete anything, just hide things if you don't want to see it. So some people don't use the star rating. You can just hide that instead of removing it entirely, and it will just live in this little hidden toggle. All the main tabs on this page have a toggle as well. So I like to keep them closed generally because it can get a little bit overwhelming having the full page inundated with lines of text. But that's all the info. Then you go down to reading stats. In this case, it's showing me that my reading progress is 100%. You can also have, that's your progress bar, or if it shows like this one here, awaiting update. But yeah, that's all automated. Page bookmark. So this is on the fic itself. You can set a bookmark. You just go to the page, you right click anywhere within a paragraph, and you click bookmark paragraph. And it will leave this little thing here. And then when I go back down there, that will load in a minute. Oh, I'm in the wrong tracker, never mind. I've got my plugin linked to my tutorial tracker, but anyway, it'll link in a link that looks like this here, chapter 1. So if I click that, it will take me to that page, to that exact location on the page. Yeah, so you can see this is where I had bookmarked it, and it will also automatically tell you like what chapter it was bookmarked in, and based on the chapter it will also, this is a really bad example because there's only one chapter in this book, but if I go back here, how many chapters does this one have? 1, whatever. Let's say it has 10 chapters. I bookmark it in chapter 5. It's going to take me to chapter 5, and accordingly it will mark my chapters red, which is here, as 4, because I've fully read 4 chapters and now I'm into the 5th. And then that in turn will update your reading progress bar as well. So bookmarking a page not only takes you back to that same spot, but records your progress in that fic as well. So if you want to do that manually, you can. You just do that. Oh, and to remove it, you just click like that. To do it manually, you can just highlight the text and copy link to highlight, and you can paste that as your bookmark in there. The only thing is if you do it manually, it doesn't automatically track the progress because the plugin is what does that. Okay, and then we have the favorite toggle. You literally just click on it and tick the heart if it's a favorite fic, and then that helps filter it into your favorites tab. Your chapter's red. Literally just enter the number of chapters like this, and yeah, that updates your reading progress. Time left, this is automated. It's just based on the word count and your progress. Then your started and read dates and the span, which we have shown already. The add reread, so this is self-explanatory. If you're reading a book again, you tick this box here. This creates a page in our reread database, which is a hidden database for the most part, and it fills out this data here. So you're essentially ticking it like as you've finished the reread, because it logs your reread date as the current date, though you can go back and no, you can't. Oh, you can. You can change it. I'll show you that in a second. The reread toggle here as well. As we add more, the toggle will go up, and it logs the next reread date. So the database we can view better up in this tab here, and this is where you can change the date. Yeah, it's not really that pretty to look at, but you can just see the dates that you've read it. Essentially, this is where you want to go if you need to delete any of them. This reread toggle and tracker feeds into your stats as well. So as we add more, it counts it here. You'll see it says including 1 reread. Okay, so I'll delete this so I don't forget. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this tracker, this section. Then we have the archive. A lot of these tabs are automated, so anytime you download a fic, this will automatically tick, but you can do that manually. The EPUB or HTML property, you can actually drag in a file here to upload it. It supports anything up to 5 megabytes, which for the most part it should support any ebook, unless it's like very large for some reason. The archive check, if you click this, it checks if this fic exists on the Internet Archive. which in this case it does. And if I go back, that button should actually tick. I think we have to tick this first. And then oh, I mean, it's because I have my plugin linked to a different tracker, so that's fine. Normally this would tick once it's confirmed the archive exists. If it doesn't, you can tick this one here, and that will archive that URL to the Wayback Machine. It can take a few minutes sometimes, but after it successfully archives, that will automatically tick as well. The restricted work here, this box will be ticked whenever you import a fic that is locked and can't be archived, but yeah, you can do that manually as well. If an author has explicitly requested you to not archive their fics, there is a button on the author's page that says do not archive. This is something you have to manually tick, but you can just tick it to remember. And so then whenever you go back to this page, there's a notice that the author doesn't allow archiving. Then we have the podfics section. If the fic is part of a podfic, let me just show you an example with the All the Young Dudes one. So for All the Young Dudes, I have a link to the podfic here. I've dragged a little cover image, and you can fill out the narrator. This is pretty much all you need to have a fic appear in this podfics view. There's essentially just a filter that says to show any fic from this database if there is a link in that podfic link field. And then after that, we've got the bookbind section. This is a little bit more involved, so I'll show you this in the video relating to the bindery, but essentially you're just clicking here to add a new bind. I'll just show you that now, I guess. It takes a minute, and then you can see here it's created a new page in our binding database, so that's a relation field. The status is automatically set to bind, and then there's some fields here for when you bound it and if it was gifted to somebody. Then we have the summary, which is automatically imported generally, as well as the author tags. You can set your own tags here. You just click into it and just make sure everything is separated with a comma, which is used by the reading stats section on the plugin. If it's not separated by a comma, it won't be able to properly filter the tags. You can drag images into this section here, just for your reference. It doesn't show anywhere else except for on this page. And then you can log your thoughts here. This, again, can be automated via the plugin. When you mark a fic as finished, it comes up with that screen I mentioned where you select your stars. That's a section where you write in your thoughts and then it automatically imports it here. And then at the very bottom, there's a section for quotes, which you can do manually, or it is automated. It won't show because my plugin isn't linked to this database, but essentially you just highlight your quote, and then with this little toggle here, you just press that and it will import your quote here. I think that's pretty much everything for the main database page and how it interacts with the podfics, the series as well. So I did mention how it creates a page in the series database. So this is actually its own database here. And these are all the series that I am reading. So when it creates its own page, it looks like this. You can fill out how many fics are part of that series, and then it'll generate usually like a little statement here based on how many fics you've imported, how many fics you've read. So in this case, I've got 2 fics both fics that exist imported, but this Loss of Flesh and Soul is actually incomplete, so it's just alerting me to that there. If I can give another example, this one's just like, yep, you've got the full series. What else is there? Some of them will say, please enter the series length, so that's if this one here is missing. You can do that manually, or you can visit the series page here, and there'll be a button up the top to sync the metadata. So this just syncs how many works there are. I think that's its only function, and the dates, I guess, and that's what the total read property relies on as well. So that's those two properties. Then again, this is relation links to the author and the fandom databases. The pairing is automatically imported from whatever pairings are linked to the fics of that series. The read statement is based on how many of the fics here you've read out of the full series length. Progress bar is then generated, and then of course you have a link to this series. And then our hidden properties here are the secret mechanics that are powering everything else. So you've got the tabs here, currently reading, obvious. If there's a series with a fic that you are currently reading, it'll appear here. The continue series that you haven't entirely finished, but you have started reading fics for, and like finished a fic. So this one is where you're still reading the fic, this one is where you've completed fics and you want to keep track of, maybe you want to go back to that series and finish the rest of it. The red ones are series that you've entirely finished every fic for. TBR are ones that you haven't started, and then DNF is any series that includes a fic that you have not DNF'd. So if it's a series with 5 fics and you DNF'd one, the whole series is moved to DNF. So this is a collections database. I did realize that I forgot to include that property. It exists in the version of the tracker that you have, but on my tracker it was still a hidden property. So I've just gone and made that visible again. So that appears just below the series and pretty much works the same as the series database. It's a relation property, so you can link to an existing collection here or start typing to create a new page in the collection database. I've got only one here, and yeah, pretty straightforward. Just link up all the fics that are part of that collection and it will compile the details here in a very similar fashion to how it works for the series database. There is a spot here for intro and rules, and then a generic spot at the bottom where you can put notes and such. And then the fics tab will just show a list of all the fics and the details that are part of that collection. The tabs here work exactly the same as the series ones do. Adding collections is super fun, I think. I'll give you an example with this boy from the Piano Shop fic that has a few collections it's part of. So to add this fic to any of these collections, or to import any of these collections to your database, press this little plus sign, and it has a list of the collections here, but you can also just start typing and then just select the one you want. In this case, it's probably not going to work because it's not linked up to my reading tracker, but yeah, then it will just import that collection and it'll also highlight it here. So anytime you are reading a fic, if this collection pops up again, you'll see it highlighted in the list, and that also appears in your list here as highlighted. You can also import collections. You just go to the collection page and tick import all fics and it will import every fic on that page, and that also automatically creates the collection to add the fic to. So yeah, that's how that works. We've already shown you the incomplete fics little database here. There's also the cleanup database. So this is any authors and fandoms that exist in their respective databases that aren't connected to any fics. So you'll usually have this happen if I was to go and delete this fic, for example. The fic gets deleted from the fics database, but the fandom and the author, they still exist in their own respective databases. So deleting it here doesn't touch the properties that exist in other databases, which means it exists and has no fics attached to it. So for these, I can very safely delete them. I don't need them anymore. You just tick them and press the trash button. And then same with the fandoms. You can tick them individually, or I can tick this box up here to select them all and delete. The same thing with the series. I realize actually this property looks a little bit different now. On yours, it'll have like a few more tabs here. Yeah, okay, I'll just explain it as best I can from mine. The pairings, as I mentioned earlier, it's really hard to manage the list of pairings. So this is the best option I came up with. This is essentially showing all of your fics in your database grouped by their pairing, and then an aggregation number next to each of them. So I can immediately see which pairings are actively being used. And you really just have to go through and find the ones that aren't being used will have a 0 next to them. And so you just keep loading more and more until you find those zeros. If you ever want to rename your pairings, right click on the pairing property, and then you can click that arrow and rename it here, and you can also like choose the color you want for it. So yeah, it sucks, but it's like Notion are always updating the software, so hopefully they'll come up with something better for that. Then you have a property for collections, which works the same as series. You can just delete anything that exists there. And then the fics tab here, this just shows any fics that exist that don't have a fandom attached, don't have an author attached, or don't have a pairing attached. And this usually happens just from like an import error from the plugin. So if you want to just check that everything's been imported properly, you can go to this tab and just fill in any missing data, essentially. Then on the left-hand side, we have just some navigation stuff. So these tabs here take you to the other pages in the fanfic tracker. Then we have some links here. This link here will open up the page to send your ebook to your Kindle. You will have to configure this beforehand, but it should prompt you if you haven't done that already. The center Kobo will take you to a page where you can drag in a fic, and you go to this website on your Kobo, and it will give you a code, and you enter the code here, and then it will send the fic over. So it's not very elegant, but it's the best way I've seen that doesn't involve plugging your Kobo in manually. And then the save to archive just takes you to a blank save page now on the Wayback Machine where you can manually enter a URL. This is great if you're not using the plugin, because the links, the like save to archive links that I was showing you, they rely on the plugin to like for that to function properly. So yeah, that's just a manual way to do it. And then just some links to the popular fandom websites, and then the reading stats database. This is really fun to have if your database isn't too large, but when it gets larger, it will start to slow down your database. And when that happens, you'll need to delete this tracker here. So this reading stats does exist as part of the plugin anyway. If you just click on the plugin icon, you can go to the stats, and so the stats are all shown in the plugin here. Yeah, this is where it like shows all your tags and everything. So it shows you more than what the reading tracker does. So it's nice to have, but delete it if it's slowing down your database. I'm talking like that, like a couple thousand, 3,000 plus fix is when some people said that it was slowing down their page. And I think it might depend on your computer as well, so you might have to delete it sooner than that. But yes, it shows like how many fix you've read. It's filtered by month, so you can click on that to select the month. And then there's a toggle up the top for year. And you can do it all for all time, or select your year here. When it's 2027, just add that to your list and just drag it into place. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the reading stats. Then the last thing on this page is just this little like reminder section for fics that you've read recently. I think within the last month that you haven't left either a kudos or a comment for, it'll show you here. So you can tick that from this page here, or you can press this little link to go to the page and do your comments or whatever. And if you don't want to leave a comment, then just leave it blank. But yeah, that's just there to remind you. Then we've got some bits hidden in here, just the about, and then the sitemap. I hate this part, but these are all automatically generated whenever you create like links and databases on your page, and there's no way to like get rid of it. So I've just hidden it in this toggle, and you can just ignore that. What I do suggest, it's really useful to know how to make a toggle. So you just do /. This pretty much opens up the options for any kind of element you want to put onto the page. So to do a toggle, you just type toggle, and then you give it a name. This is our example. And then if there's any databases here that you don't want to see, like I said, don't ever delete anything because it can just break things and it's too risky. But you can just go to the side of the database. You'll see these like little dots appear. You just click on the dots and then you drag it in to there. So you can just like hide it away. But as I did say before, you can safely delete the reading stats when required. Anyway, that's how you do hidden databases. I will quickly show you though, since we're here, that can come in fun, useful, handy, whatever, when you are doing your like thoughts for a fic. So in this case, there's like songs that are referenced in the fic that I was able to embed on the page. So you can do that. There's a bunch of stuff you can embed. So yeah, have a look through. Worth looking at like some tutorials so you can understand like how to customize everything, because you can customize like all these like images and stuff, like fully change like how you want things to look. You can have this like some of my beta readers, they made their rating tracker look more like this, like with the pictures. So yeah, fully customizable. You can move things around, whatever you want to do. But that is the main reading tracker page. Now I'll quickly show you the authors and the fandoms. I'll try not to take too long. So the authors page, straight up you just have the author database with a list of all the authors from like A to Z alphabetically. It'll have a counter of how many fics you have added for that author. It'll automatically pull, this is all automated by the way, so it automatically pulls in like what fandoms they write for based on what fics you have imported. Same with the pairings, how many of their books you've read with a little accompanying progress bar, and then a binding policy. So if you're not a bookbinder, you can probably just hide that, just right click and click hide. But for bookbinders, this is a way you can just remind yourself like what their policy is. Then their author profile, that will automatically be linked here. If we go in, there's a few other properties here. I'll just find one from an author that I follow. So they have a pseudonym. If you import a fic from an author that is a pseudonym of a different author, it automatically fills in this property here. So if I go to microdamage, it will like link back and forth, so I'll always know what other names they write under. Then the fics that they write for are just listed here. I might have actually updated this page to have tabs up the top, I can't remember, but yeah, my own tracker is slightly outdated. Then we've got the fandoms that they write for. The active sense is manually input by you if you want to, just based on their profile. And then same with like the bio, pronouns, etc. Subscribed will automatically get ticked if you're using the plugin. You can drag a profile pic in. This section here, for traditionally published, I'll just show you an example. So this author does have a published book, but they don't have any published fan fiction. So in this case, I've written their author name that they publish under, and that will come up here in this published authors section. So as soon as I tick this box and I put in the name, it'll fill this out here. If I have an author that does have a fic, so this one here, in this case, I don't have the trad published ticked or their author name. I can go fill that out manually, but this is automatically in here because I have linked a traditionally published fic back on that other database I was showing you, and so that filters through into here. So yeah, just a way you can keep track of authors that are publishing their fics or that just write other stories in general. You'll see them down there. Then what else have we got? Yeah, you can link to their Goodreads page and then that do not archive button, which I showed you earlier. Then we have the location tab. So if you enter a location into that location property on the database page, it'll just show you from whereabouts in the world they are. Not many authors list it, but it's kind of fun to see how diverse we all are. Here we have a roundup. This just shows a list of authors that you've marked as a favorite, and it also calculates the average star rating and will just group them down here. And then the same with the spice. Just for fun. It doesn't really mean anything, but yeah. Okay, so that's the authors page. Then we go to the fandoms page. This one I have a lot of fun with, but there is a little bit of manual work required. So first of all, you have this database here. This is actually just the database that we were looking at on the main page. It's just a different view of it where they're all categorized into fandoms. This is how I personally like to view them, but some people, they would just move like this all database up here and then change the view so they have pictures, so they just have like pictures of all the fandoms. So yeah, do whatever you want with it. I like to just sort of click on a fandom and then just see a list of the fics in that fandom. I don't really read that much fan fiction, ironically, so it's easier for me to scroll through a shorter list, but yeah. So this setup involved, essentially, because we are all reading different fandoms, you will have to manually like update this to suit your own purposes. So you can rename any of these tabs, just click rename, type whatever you want. This little button here you can tick and pick any icon that you like, that you feel represents that fandom. And then you need to make sure that you filter it. So if this section here isn't already expanded, there's a little toggle there. And this button here, if it's blue, it means there's a filter in place, which will possibly be the case for you. If there's an existing one, you can just click it and delete it. Oop. And yeah, now that there's no filter, it's just literally showing me all of the fics in my whole database. So to add a new filter, you just click this here. The property we're filtering by is fandom. And then we want to include any fandom that has the name Merlin. And now all my Merlin fics will show here. And you can go through and do that for all the main fandoms that you read that you want to follow. All the rest go into MISC. So we do a similar thing with the filter, but in like reverse. So instead of contains, you just change it to does not contain. And then I've just listed all the categories that I'm already tracking here. So now it's essentially showing me every single fandom that isn't one of these ones. But yeah, kind of redundant to just have a list of every single fic. In this case, you might want to group it. So you can go to this toggle here, group. We can type fandom, and then oh, I have a lot of like stupid fandoms in here, but yeah, it can group it just like this. So yeah, whatever you want. You can delete ones by just right clicking, delete view. I don't know what I was doing there, testing something. This looks scary, but yeah, just click delete view only and you're fine. Okay, my favorite part is this area on the left. You won't see anything on yours, this will be empty, so just go to the all tab and click on one of your fandoms. You can put like a little banner up the top, and this is what shows, actually let's do this one. Okay, so your banner up the top, this is what will show here. If you want it to appear in this list, you just have to give it a rank. So I have chosen to rank from 1 to 5 because I don't want too many. But as long as it has any kind of number here, it'll show in order here, essentially. And then the other properties we have in this fandoms database is just a tally of how many fics you've imported, a statement on which of your favorite pairings are and how many fics they correspond to, how many you've read, and a progress bar. And then you can drag in like fan art or pictures into this property here. The fics toggle is just a list of all the fics grouped by pairing. This is a really good example. I've got Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, and then Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So good to just make sure you're using the same naming conventions, because this will track separately in your reading stats. Crossover fics are listed here, or your collections that they're part of. Actually, that's wrong. I'll fix that, ignore that, but that should be collections. Then any favorite fics in that fandom, any fics that you've written for that fandom, and then any fics that were recommended to you for that fandom will show in those corresponding tabs. And then, as we just saw, the all tab is just a list of all the fandoms that you have and a tally of how many fics you have imported for that fandom. The last thing I'll show you is just the mobile view. The mobile view sucks. Notion is notorious for how bad they are for navigating on the mobile. It is possible, however, so I've just kind of thrown together this thing. feel free to change it however you want, like whatever works for you. For the most part, I don't really use it. I'll use it just to keep track of like my bookmarks and just like a quick link to a fic I'm currently reading. But other than that, like I'm pretty much just using this on my PC. So yeah, pretty straightforward. To return to desktop view, it's just this toggle here. And yeah, that is the main bulk of the reading tracker. As you probably would have seen already, the plugin itself has like a welcome tour that it guides you through everything. I don't think it did show you how to do the quotes and the bookmarking, so I'm glad I was able to show you that at least. If you've downloaded that, you'll have seen already, like as you visit different pages, it'll give you a little explanation of all the little buttons I've added and how they work. But yeah, hopefully this covered everything. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do my best to help you. Thank you so much as well to like all the beta testers that worked with me on this. I can't even begin to explain like how helpful they have been. I pretty much presented to them a reading tracker that I thought was pretty much finished, and then continued to work on it for like maybe like another 6 months, based on like their suggestions and their bug reports. So it just goes to show like how much more there was that I could do with this and how much more there was to fix with this. So yeah, a massive thank you, because like this just simply would not exist in the state it's in now if I didn't have their help. And they just interacted with this in a way that I never would have been able to. They read a lot more than me, so I was able to pick up on a lot of things that I simply never would have until it would have been too late. The thing with this reading tracker as well is once it's out in the world and you've downloaded it, it exists only on your private account. So there's no way I can go back in here and fix anything or update anything. So hopefully we don't see any issues. But for the most part, everything seems to be working pretty perfectly. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. And I will see you in the next videos where I'll go over the desk and bindery. Yeah, see ya.